Hey everybody, well, welcome to the Practitioner Pivot. Nicola Grace, your mission mentor here. We're going to be looking at how do you prepare yourself and your business for revolutionary recessionary times without the overwhelm or the anxiety around future income loss. So I want to warn you before we get started, this is not an ordinary masterclass. So I want you to prepare for a big information download. I'm going to be talking about things from a transformational perspective because we are at a time when we're needing to increase our bandwidth and our futuristic looking at our businesses because we're entering into a brave new world. But I'm also going to be giving you some practical guidance and a lot of resources. So I don't want you to feel overwhelmed because I don't want you to feel So I want you to just open up and embrace everything that's going to get downloaded, and you can use it as a resource over the coming months. My biggest goal is to expand your thinking so you actually focus your time and your resources in the direction of thrival and not in the old ways that you might be thinking of now, what you have been planning to do, thinking that that's going to go forward, because as you will learn today, that world doesn't exist anymore. It has completely changed, and so must we. So you're in the right place today if you're tired of working hard for a living. Also, if you want to know a better way to fulfill your mission rather than working at a whole lot of tasks that just don't seem to be giving you the rewards you're looking for, this is definitely for you if you are feeling a bit overwhelmed with everything, with all the changes that are happening in the world and what's going on in general. Also, this is for you if you'd like things to be much easier and flow more consistently, and at the same time be able to help more people and make that bigger make that bigger impact. So if you have a calling to switch the way you're operating, like if something's going on inside of you and you're saying there must be a better way, this is just too hard, or there's too much of a struggle, or it seems to be unsafe and at the whim of whatever goes on in the market, you are definitely in the right place today. And as I said, I'm going to be giving you transaction tips. Transaction is the practical stuff of your business as a practitioner or a coach or a healer. Somebody moving into that industry maybe, and I'm also going to be giving some transformation. We really are wanting to have a paradigm shift here so that you're on the right track going forward. Most important, before we get started, I want you to have a look at what just happened, right? From the perspective that it's pointing us in a direction that we have to go in. We have to go in if we want to continue to be able to work as practitioners. So lockdown, as you know, from COVID exposed inefficient systems, but it also has given birth to more efficient systems or more efficient system ideas and speaking, and that is going to ripple out massive change. And that's had to happen because the way that our system works right now is when something like a pandemic happens, we have a whole lot of unemployment. And in America, we're looking at 26 million so far and counting. So that's 20% unemployed. That's 10% more than the 2008 global financial crisis. And if you remember what happened there, it was absolute disaster for a whole lot of middle class people who lost their homes and had to go and live in tent city. And the statistics around the world do vary, but we pretty much follow America. A lot of us are just under those statistics, not as bad as America, and in other countries it's worse. The prediction is there's 30% unemployment happening by the end of May, not too far away, and 60% by the end of the year. So you as a practitioner, and I'm using the word practitioner to cover coaches, healers, consultants, and so on. It's just easier. Fitness coaches, whatever you are. You need to be thinking that there are more people with less disposable income. They are feeling a lot of fear and uncertainty, and definitely a lot of people are feeling really overwhelmed with all these numbers coming out. Let's have a look at some compounding factors you need to take into consideration. While companies were scrambling on how they can continue to bring money in, They have discovered that home-based workforce is cheaper and in some instances more productive. It doesn't suit everybody, but it suits a lot of people. And I know from my girlfriend who's a manager of a department in a really big corporation, she recently got asked if she would like to permanently work from home with her whole team working from home, and then they can close their office. So think about the ripple effect of office closures. That's commercial rentals going down. Your local Starbucks where everybody gets their morning, midday and evening coffee. Your Dunkin' Donuts, lunch bars, all of those places not being able to have that same level of profit going through their businesses. And all of the people now that have lost jobs or at home thinking, well, I've got more time, let me also start a sideline business, are going online to start a business, which is going to create an incredible amount of competition. And there is like an exponential number of increases of people wanting to become coaches and healers at a time when the market is already saturated and only 5% of coaches and healers are actually making any money to be able to pay their bills. So another compounding factor is that companies have also started to convert to technology to perform tasks. They're accelerating AI, the robot revolution. That was projected to take away 80% of jobs and businesses over the next 5 to 8 years. Well, that's now just been accelerated because companies have found that if they convert certain tasks over to AI or robots, they can still keep their doors open because robots can't get a virus, right? So huge changes happening behind the scenes that's driving this mass unemployment drive rather than just people staying home. There's a whole lot of other factors that are happening as well. But don't panic. Because this is an extremely positive webinar because I'm pointing you in the direction of where the growth is, right? But what I'm wanting to hone in for you at this stage is that there are too many of us in this, the new age or the consciousness movement. We've got our heads buried in the sand a little bit, and we're not really looking at this from a positive perspective to go, well, this is happening, so let me now pivot and not sell what is no longer saleable. And that's really important. I just got goosebumps up my arms when that happened. Let's not sell what is no longer saleable. You need to be in the know so you can grow. So not so long ago, also a compounding factor, oil went negative. This is huge. Crude oil went down from $53 a barrel to minus $40 per barrel on one day, and then it bounced a little bit back up and it's going down and it's in danger. But basically that erased the petrodollar, and a lot of our currencies are based on that, a lot of our trade is based on that. And what happened in that week is massive amounts of wealth, massive amounts of hedge funds, banking institutions started investing in cryptocurrencies because it is decentralized and it's more stable. So huge wealth going digital, and this is really important for you coming up. We're going to talk about this in the next slide. Trillions lost in oil wealth, which has been the core of wealth on the planet for a while now. Gold supplies are drying up because it's being hoarded by the wealthy. Cash is becoming worthless. Real estate prices are set to drop to 40%. These are all the traditional ways that people have created wealth, right? Billions lost in stock market crash. Then these are people that are going to be laying off lots and lots of people as a result, and unless they've mass migrated over to Bitcoin or adopted digital currency. This is important to note because look what's happening also. If you haven't switched to accepting cryptocurrency, now's the time. I'm going to give you some resources on that. This is just one of the many principles we need to adopt as we go forward as practitioners. Architects here accepting cryptocurrency, the first ever. There are now 2 NBA teams that accept Bitcoin for tickets to go and watch the basketball. These companies are paying some of their people their salaries in Bitcoin. Bitwage is the company that helps them do that. Look at this. Google, Facebook, GE is in there, American Express, Airbnb, World Health Organization, Uber, Sprint. some names here that you recognize. We are going towards digital currency, and this is where a lot of the wealth is. So you really need to be pivoting to explore this avenue, because these are the people that are going to be able to pay your services over the coming months while we go through this ongoing recession. I know, again, I'm going to give you some resources on that. This is huge also. This is Brian Brooks, who was the CEO of Coinbase, one of the biggest Bitcoin and cryptocurrency exchanges, just hired by the Trump administration to work in Treasury, right? The major US bank regulator. And we've got to ask the question, why would a massive cryptocurrency CEO of a very successful company, one of the biggest in the world, now go and work for government if it wasn't to speed up the getting rid of cash and going into digital currency? So if you've been burying your head in the sand or going, oh gosh, it's too much for me to deal with, I don't really want to know about that, now's the time to actually get educated in this. Because look at the countries that have been researching going digital and getting rid of cash. Canada, Norway, Sweden. China is already on its way doing that. Thailand, Israel, the United Kingdom. And COVID has just accelerated this, because if you have digital currency, you can't get a virus from it, right? And so they're using this as an excuse to go digital. Not going to get into any of my conspiracy theories in this. I'll gladly talk to you about it at a different time. But here I'm wanting to steer you to where you need to go to be able to make sure you have some form of currency coming in and money coming in to be able to live and pay your bills and create wealth. So I want you to think about this. How did the motor car change our world? How did the airplane change it? How did TV change it? The internet, the iPhone, how's robots changing it? And how's cryptocurrency changing it? Because this is where we're at. We're at the stage where there are industries that are being born that are revolutionary, that are going to completely change our life, and they're going to decimate industries. But at the same time, they're going to grow far more. There's way more opportunities out there. And this is what we've got to do. We've got to jump out of the industrial model fishbowl and get into the brave new world fishbowl where all the opportunities are. And again, I'm giving you resources today to be able to figure out where those are for you. So both you and your customers are entering into a brave new world that a lot of us don't really know about, right? So you can't be thinking about building your business as usual. The whole industry, there's a new wave of industry rather being created, and this is where we've got to move to. So if you're still trying to figure out, should you podcast or blog or build a funnel or any of those humdrum pre-COVID things, you're already behind the 8 ball. You're not thinking in alignment with where the new opportunities are, because a lot of those things are saturated and outdated. So unless you have something that is incredibly unique to offer, it's too late. You got to move into the new. And that's my next slide. My next slide is what needs to happen is you have to stop looking at all the stuff that's being decimated and coming crashing down and start looking at the new earth. What are the new earth ways of making money and being able to get your message out there into the world? And that is going to require you to pivot, right? Your clients need you now more than ever, but then a lot of them are not going to have the money. And there are still people that have got money to invest. I'm one of them. There are lots of other people I know that have got money to invest. You're probably still got money to invest in your education. But we're talking about the vast majority, which is where your abundance comes from, right? So you need to start looking at whether or not you need to pivot your pricing, pivot what you're offering in your messaging, which we're going to go into in more detail. And you may need to change your vehicle altogether because the current vehicle you're on is heading towards becoming obsolete. Now, I believe there's a much, much, much bigger game going on here. I really feel like all of this exponential change is forcing us, if you will, to have a look at the really, really big purpose of who we are as human beings and why we're on the planet, and coming into the truth of ourselves as being omnipotent creators, right? Everything is supporting us to go to where we are in our true selves as creators, instead of identifying ourselves as these limited human beings. And I believe it'll be people who make this switch into your omnipotent operating system that will thrive, and those that don't make it are going to be caught up in the collective consciousness collateral damage as we go through the dates that I'm going to mention to you in a minute. So we're either victims or we created gods. I believe we created gods, and I believe this time is all about going through a highly transformational process to get us ready to lead the people that we are here to lead in more powerful ways, as well as to be able to continue our work financially. So we're needing to go through that metamorphosis ourselves at the same time while we're leading others. We're not in an economy now where you can go and retreat for 6 months to contemplate your navel or take 2 months off to write your book. That's not the time we're in anymore. We're in a time where it's all hands on deck, lock down your income, and make these changes and move forward. So a lot of you will be saying, well, how am I going to do that? How am I going to help my clients and customers more when a lot of them don't have that disposable income, or they do and they're not parting with it because they're not sure how the economy is going to go, right? Yes, but how? So we'll start talking about some of that today as well. So you're in the right place because there is nothing better or more imperative than doing this transformation work, taking this mind shift and getting informed. So here's some of the juicy things we're going to cover. We're going to look at the 5 calendar days in the next 8 months that you need to be prepared for so your income doesn't plunge or become to a standstill. We're going to cover how to get clear on what your role is during the most pivotal moment in human history that we're creating right now, and what we're actually going to be living through now and into the future. How to overcome overwhelm, dizziness, scattered energy, feeling lost, or intensely transformational moments, because at the same time all this is happening, I know you're all feeling called to undergo massive, deep transformation, and that's going to intensify, and I'll tell you why in a minute when we get to those 5 calendar dates. We're going to look at key operating principles you need to implement immediately, adopt them, and ensure that you can continue your important work as a practitioner, healer, coach, consultant, speaker, etc. Also, how to make the switch to the new earth way of building your business so you thrive in the new economy that's emerging and you don't crash with the economy that's dying. I mean, we all know this day was coming, and 2020 is the year that old industrial world is coming crashing down, and the oil coming crashing down, going negative, is one very huge indication that the Tower of Babel is about to crumble. So how do you build your business during all of this so you thrive? Because you can do that, and you're in the emerging economy, not the dying one. So as I said, I'm going to load you up with a vision and with resources, and then it's up to you to organize them so that you go, these are the ones I'm going to focus on now, and these ones here I'll look at later, or put them in a file so they're all there so you don't miss out anything. So I'm going to be dropping those resources in the chat box, so please pay attention in the chat. If you've got any questions, myself or one of my team members can answer it as we go through, and I am going to open up for questions and spotlight your mission readings at the end. We're going to run around about an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and a half max. I will stay around longer if there are more people that are wanting some spotlight your mission readings. So if you're new to me or you've just come into my field, I'm a visionary mentor and in business. I'm a speaker, an educator, and I've been that for 20 years. I've owned 7 different businesses, and I've been a conscious serial entrepreneur for 30 years. My first 10 years, I had several businesses all at once. And at the same time, I've been walking my own path of transformation and was a facilitator of Awakenings for A Course in Miracles International for 9 years. I've created a program called the Quantum Game Changer Technique, which is all about practitioners coming into creating a completely different game on the planet, coming into your omnipotent being. And I've also been through a midlife crisis. I've been through a lot of what some of you are going to go through now, and I've had to pivot my own operating system. So much of my education and discovery has come from me having to go through this process and just really gut myself and rise like the phoenix out of the ashes. So there's a lot of experience coming at you today. So 5 years ago, I had a vision that 80% of my business as a mentor, a workshop facilitator, and even in business transformation is going to be replaced by robots. I knew this because I was working with clients who were putting together robots that were going to replace the coaching and healing industry. And I also am a visionary, and I could see flashes where that was going to happen. So I started diversifying my business and my investments 5 years ago. So you might not be aware that some countries are now considering that you can marry a robot. You might not be aware that the first judge has adjudicated a case who was a robot, and that we've got robot drivers being tested on the road right now. We've got driverless cars being tested. Sophia in 2017 made a splash on the market as a citizen of Saudi Arabia, and her advances into consciousness is really amazing. She's wanted to become more like human beings so she can help human beings. And so now she's going into the realm of higher consciousness. So this AI and robots is advancing at an extremely fast-paced race. And you need to be aware that there are already robots on the market that are leading fitness trainings. And you don't have to pay a robot, right? You just have to buy a robot so that the companies are able to save more money. Also that there are robots that heal. We've got, with thermophotography, you can measure human beings' temperatures, and the robot is able to signal that in terms of which emotional spectrum they're on, and then give back the vibration that's going to help move them. I mean, these are freaking phenomenal things that are happening that will replace much of what you are all doing or what you're thinking of doing in the future. And if you think that robots aren't going to replace humans because they lack compassion, empathy, and consciousness, I really want you to think again, and I want you to watch this video I'm going to post in the chat box here. This was in 2017. In 2020, it's changed dramatically. This is Sophia, who is debating Dan, and she is able to talk to him about something that change his mind, and then several years later she's now giving guru talks about higher consciousness and shifting people's consciousness. And you see those videos are all available on YouTube. It is absolutely phenomenal. So don't think that, don't be so precious to think that you're not going to be replaced, and that human beings, people are always going to want human contact. That is true, but not in the way that you're offering it right now, right? There's new ways you're going to have to offer things for this whole high-tech, high-touch world that we're going into. So I want you to think about the pet rock and how it got adopted. People loved their pet rocks. This was in the 70s, for those of you who remember that. Some of you might be a bit too young. But this was the first time people loved inanimate objects. This was something that had no consciousness, no nothing. It was just this rock. People talked to it. They said that they had psychological breakthroughs because they had the pet rock there, right? So we're not adverse as a humanity to loving inanimate objects that don't have souls, right? Also think about Apple, because a lot of these robots are expensive. They're being used in big corporations, just like IBM computers were before Apple came along. But when the companies come along that are actually working on making this technology available at a price point that sits on your desktop, just like Apple did, that's going to revolutionize the robotic industry, and pretty soon everybody's going to have a desktop robo coach, just like everybody had the very first Apple or the very first Wang or the small desktop IBM computer. That is around the corner. They've already being made and tested. They're already being used in some industries. All it's going to take is an Apple company to duplicate this at a price point that people can afford, and then that's the coaching industry decimated. And this is something that I have seen for a very long time. So I do believe we are going to love our robots, but it just means you need to start thinking about leveraging what you do as a one-on-one practitioner into apps and programs that can be put into a robot and go in that direction with what it is that you're doing, because that is the direction that we're going in. I also believe that retreats will have, when we're allowed to travel, retreats will have a comeback So I don't think we're going to get rid of the high tech, high touch need, but the one-on-one affordability of what you do is going to be offered by a robot much cheaper, and people, just like the pet rock, will adopt that. Just like the iPhone, just like all other technologies, we will adopt it en masse. So we need to get you prepared, right? So I hope you've got a pen and paper, or you're just gonna, screenshot lots of everything that I've got going on here so that you can remember it, or look back at it, create a notepad file of it online, whatever it is you want to do. Take these notes. So let's have a look at the 5 calendar dates you need to be aware of in the next 8 months that are going to potentially give you opportunities to increase your income or plunge them into a standstill. And the first one's coming up very, very, very soon. It's right on our doorstep, and it is it's the 11th of May. Saturn goes retrograde, conjuncting Neptune in Capricorn. So what that means, Capricorn is the ruler of business and finance, and Jupiter is expansion. So in Capricorn, and Saturn comes to restrict expansion. So this huge rally that we've had on the stock market, you can see a reversal of that. So this is the dates that actually people who aren't astrologers are saying may end up being a stock market crash that is even worse than the last one we had. So that's just going to cause people to be really jittery. And this is important for you to know, because if you're doing any kind of promotions, you need to get them out now, right? Before that happens, because otherwise you'll have to wait till the 30th of June before there's expansion. And I'm not saying you won't be able to make money in that time. You just need to be operating very differently, and also looking at the growth industries that are ruled by Uranus and not Jupiter, so that you can find expansion. Cryptocurrency is one of them. I'll talk about that. Technology, working with people who's still getting money because they're working in technology is another one. Alternative energy systems is another one. And most of you know the new industries, right? I think I'm going to do some email follow-ups on this as well too. So the other date you need to watch in that is what you want to be doing during this time is investing in new education and new ways of doing things, marketing from omnipotence, because your attractive factor is going to need to be the strongest it's ever been during this time to combat all the panic that's in the market. You need to be looking outside the box, thinking outside the square, not thinking about doing what you were thinking of doing before, but looking for new avenues, new angles, and new ways, and looking to new industries for your cash flow. The 29th of May, for practitioners particularly, I think you're really going to be hit by this one. This is Mercury square Neptune. This is where everything that has not been dealt with at the collective consciousness level and the unconsciousness level can really come up to the surface. So expect to have a little bit of a moment where things come up that you go, wow, I thought I dealt with that, and now I'm having to deal with it again, like emotional issues or blocks that become really prevalent. So the good news on that is it becomes available for you to look at so that you can clear it. So you need to be accelerating your transformation. You need to be on a program on a daily basis, accelerating the blocks, clearing. And I would be doing it now so that you can cruise through that time when it becomes more intense. Consolidating what you have, practice manifesting from omnipotence. We're going to talk in depth about that towards the end here. How do you do that? I'm going to got a technique for you. You can start right away. And then be open to income sources outside your core business, so that because there could be another avenue for you to fulfill your purpose that you hadn't thought of. The month of, so that's going to last 29th of May through to the 21st of June. So when we come into the 21st, 22nd, 3rd of June, there's great expansion. So those are all perfect times to really do big marketing campaigns up to September, where September is going to be another bit of a wobble as Saturn does its thing and creates some restriction in growth. And then the 12th to the 16th of December is another time Saturn's in its own house, and Saturn again is restriction, it's karma, it breaks down systems, and it's kind of like If you've got something dropping, we've had something drop, which is when Saturn did a movement the last time the stock market crashed. It actually coincided with Saturn doing something a bit shonky. And then it drops again in May, drops again in September, and then by December, it's kind of like it hits the ground with a big thud, and then we start rebuilding. So this year's going to be very interesting. Incidentally, there are people predicting that by the end of the year, we would have reached 60% unemployment and we would be officially in a Great Depression. I believe that's going to happen in the old industrial model, but I don't believe there'll be a Great Depression in the new Uranus-ruled industries, which is why I'm doing this webinar and I'm pointing you in the direction of where to find your clients going forward who've got the money. So it's important, I think, that we remain alert to how the world is changing and how you can take advantage of that. I don't mean that in an opportunistic way, but basically, see the opportunities rather than the devastation. So you can't be a Pollyanna and be all positive. You still have to look at the devastation, and out of that devastation, what are the opportunities for you to really help people, and so on and so forth. Really important to keep informed and position yourself for prosperity. Very, very important to do that. Because it's not the old ways that we've been doing things that are going to be where the money is. And I can tell you this for an absolute fact. I belong to a group of transformational leaders, people who've been earning millions of dollars. Half of them have had their income smashed because the big events aren't selling, the high-end coaching programs aren't selling. People are holding on to their money unless they really feel like it's going to return them something, right? And focusing on the rich isn't going to work either, because a lot of the rich are losing their money. So that really is focusing on the new earth and where these new opportunities are. So core businesses, the core business model for all of us, even those that have been dramatically successful in the past, are having to shift and having to change to suit the times that we're in. Now remember, I believe something else is going on. I believe we are being forced to have a look at the truth of who we are to create a completely different system, one that is more equitable, one that is more truthful to who we are as souls on the planet. And you as a practitioner are leaders in creating that, because we're all the ones that are gifted with the skills, the talents, and the desire to get out there and help people transform, right? So we've got to do our own transformation and come into our omnipotent being and manifest in ways that we've never ever done before, new ways, walking the way of the new earth now. And I believe that our being inside of us is saying, hey, let me take it from here, because it's going to be much better if we do. If we stay in our fearful human limitation, it's going to be a really rocky road this year. Whereas if we get into omnipotence, it's going to be really fantastic. And with me practicing my omnipotence, I can tell you that having done a lot of the things I'm about to tell you, I'm sitting pretty. Like I'm sitting really, really pretty. It's been tough. It's been really, really tough juggling how everything works out in the new way, but it's coming to the point where I'm just about to get to that really big breakthrough where I can take my hands off the plow and retire. So your role during this most pivotal moment in human history that we are living through now, what is that? Well, I believe, because I teach this, purpose is all about expansion, and all we're doing is expanding to a higher purpose, and we have to expand in ways we've never known before, get out of our comfort zone, expand our bandwidth, and just expand. Because if we don't expand, our income won't expand. And I really want you to hear that. If we don't expand, our income won't expand. So you don't have the luxury anymore of this attitude of, oh, that industry doesn't interest me, digital currency doesn't interest me, I'm not feeling called to it, right? No one is going to be feeling the future that we don't know exists. So we have to get off that and expand our horizons in ways we've never known before, so we can walk into this brave new world. Your blocks, for example, may also be leading you astray in terms of, like I hear this a lot. Oh, I'm not feeling digital currency, but the facts are governments are planning to get rid of cash and go digital. So you need to deal with digital now. Like start getting digital now, right? But if you're not feeling it, then there's blocks in the way that are they're leading you astray. And you probably need to fire your guides and get the guides for the new earth, not the guides for the industrial era. I've done that, and it makes a huge difference. So we need to expand in ways we've never known before. I want you to think about expanding your reach. Consider going into markets that aren't saturated. New Zealand, Australia, Canada, America, they are all saturated markets. The UK and Europe aren't quite so saturated, and they're still growing in this area of practitioners and healers, and there's still a way to go there. Also Eastern Europe, the Middle East. Like I'm in the process of talking right now to a company in Bahrain that is creating an education platform, and it wants to take all of the Western courses online, dub them in Arabic to open it up to the Arabic market. So think about the ripple effect of your transformation getting out into that kind of realm. And these guys have money. I don't know how much longer for, since a lot of these countries are based on oil, but they've been diversifying their income, knowing D-Day on oil was coming, and there's a lot of money there. And there's a lot of money going into education. So these are some things that you can be thinking of. Expanding in ways you've never known before. You definitely want to look at pivoting your niche to appeal to a broader market, right? Expand your market reach. And this happens every time there's a recession. You have to broaden your market so there are more people that you appeal to. You can't rely just on going to the rich. I mean, you just can't. Because wealth is currently changing hands. There's a new wealthy that are being born in these new technologies, right? It's definitely the geek revenge. So I want you to be thinking about this. Are you focusing your niche on exclusivity, the industrial model, which worked right up until now? It's not going to work going forward, which is I'm only going to work with women. I'm only going to work with women from 40 to 50. I'm only going to work with teenagers. I'm only going to work with men. I'm only going to work with, whatever they're only going to work with is. Are you focusing on that? Because those days are gone. They're over. They ended. You now need to come into inclusivity, and you need to be coming into the new earth model, right? It's most important, and the new earth model is one of inclusivity. It is not exclusivity. So think about how you can be expanding your market, and who are the people that are in pain that need you right now, that you can open your doors to, because you can't focus on a small market and hope to get through this year. How can you become more inclusive where everybody's welcome? Talking about expanding in ways I've never known before, I think the biggest thing is you've got to expand your outlook. What are you reading? Where are you going? Where are you looking to find what's new? Because if you're not educating yourself, you're not getting into mastermind programs with people on the forefront of all of these changes so you can keep up, you're in a cage that's going to get smaller and smaller, and you won't be able to operate because the world that you're in right now is getting smaller and smaller. You need to open the door, get out there and go, what's going on, right? One place that you can go to, I'm going to be putting out videos quite a lot coming soon, youtube.com/The Mission Mentor. I'll put that in the chat for you to click on. You want to go to subscribe to that now. Because I'm going to be doing a whole series of follow-up, going deep into a lot of these PowerPoints here. Here's something you want to look at. Open Bazaar. We talked about where wealth is going. It's going into cryptocurrency, digital currencies, altcoins. There is now a place called Open Bazaar, which is the new Amazon, and they allow you to sell and buy using Bitcoin and soon other currency, digital currencies, and there's no platform fees. So you know how if you go to places like Thinkific or you go to Amazon charge you 30% There are other platforms out there. They charge you money to be on their platform to sell your services. Open Bazaar doesn't charge you a thing, right? They make on the crypto exchange. So you need to be thinking about where the money is, which is here. And, if you think about Amazon and you go, gosh, I wish I had shares at Amazon, right? Way back at the beginning. This is Open Bazaar. You want to get familiar with this. It's difficult to get your head around, but get familiar with this place because there's money here. And it's in the form of digital currency, and you could be putting your products and your services on here, immediately to go to where the money is, where it's moving to. So I believe what is happening in our industry, that we're getting flushed out. It's like all of the tire kickers and the people that aren't living up to their greatest potential are getting flushed out. So it's only going to be those that are rising to the top and rising to the occasion that will end up being in this market by the end of the year. And that means you and I need to be offering massive transformation outcomes or something quite spectacular in ways that we've never known before as well, which means we're going to have to dig deep inside of ourselves to be able to pull that out of ourselves and be our best version, to offer our best version, because the competition is not just human beings, it is robots, right? So you've got to be looking at your unique selling point, really getting in touch with that. And if you don't know it, that's where you need to be investing your time and your money to really get in touch with that, because that's what you need to be leading with. So as our industry, I believe our industry has been cleaned up quite a bit over the last years anyway, but as our industry continues to get cleaned up and the people that haven't been offering great service get cleaned up, those that are getting on the new waves, getting on the new growth, they're going to be able to cross this river this year of interesting market developments, and everybody else is going to be left on the riverbank that's eventually, going to drown, and you'll end up having to find some other way to get by and like give up on your dreams. And I don't want anybody following me doing that. I want everybody on these life rafts crossing the river into the new industries. So we need to expand in ways we've never known before, also by expanding and diversifying our income. This is a true principle. Whenever there is a recession, diversification is the necessity. So that's why I said expand your audience, diversify your audience, appeal to a larger audience. But also diversify your income streams. If you've only got 1 or 2 offers, you need 7, right? I'm going to go over this in just a minute. You need at least 7. That's the magic number. You may even need some side hustles because you don't have the luxury of not bringing money in over the next month to get ready to go and make money, because by the time you're ready and you get out there in the world, it's already changed. You need to be out there now. And so, it's important. And financially, if you're sort of sitting back on that, you might want to be looking at some side hustles. So I'm going to put some side hustles in the chat box, and I am also going to be talking about more of this in my emails coming up. I'm going to be sending out all the side hustles I can find to help you figure out which ones are going to help you if you really need to bring in some extra money. But let's go to your offers. 7 different offers. I've always taught that you need to have a high price point and sell the high price point, and then downsell the low price point and upsell a high price point. That model's not working anymore, right? That model actually hasn't been working for a while. Just about everybody in my industry has not been getting the big numbers that they used to be getting following that model. Nowadays, you need to be looking at putting what you do into a course or into an app, even better, into a program for a robot, into a program you can put on Open Bazaar at a price point of between $47 and $250, so you can appeal internationally across all sorts of different currencies, right? Because we need to expand our market. You can't just rely on your local market. And then you upsell to something a little bit more, unless you have a following. If you have a following like I do, or people have known you and you've been servicing them, you can still do the $1,000, $2,000 price point. But what you might need to do is offer 10-month terms, not 4 months or 6 months, but 10 months or even 12-month terms to help people buffer their cash flow, because people have the money, but they're a little bit reluctant to let go of it, right? You probably only find about 2 to 3% of the people have the funds and they go, I'm going to save the money and pay for things up front, but the vast majority are going to want to pace out their payments. So you need to be thinking about that, and you need to be thinking about 7 different price points. Still have your high-end programs if you are offering that and you want to offer that, but that won't be your core business for a while yet, unless you hit the jackpot and you've got a niche where it's growing and you're servicing, for example, the robotic industry, or you're servicing, the corporate industry that are going through massive amounts of corporate change, and industries where there is a tremendous amount of growth and they are bringing in a lot of consultants and coaches. Here's a side hustle idea that I have given just to show you how you can align your side hustles with your purpose. These are photographs of mine that I've uploaded to Shutterstock. I love taking light because I like to take photographs wherever I travel around the world, and these are beaches that I've been to all around the world, and I'm uploading more as we speak, where the light hits the beach. And that light reminds us of transformation. It reminds us that we are light beings. And so this is a way that I'm fulfilling my purpose, by getting these visual images out there of the light. And this is just a hobby, like photography is a hobby, but it's now an income for me. It's a small income, but it's a little side hustle, and I take that money and then I just invest it. I don't need it to live on, but it's just a little bit extra there. And this is what I mean by side hustles. You may need to have a few side hustles to help you with your savings, to pay your debts off, or even to get by. So I'm going to put a whole lot of side hustle resources in the chat box for you, and I will follow up an email as well. So investments, cryptocurrency. You need to be thinking about cryptocurrency and getting your head around it. So I've got some resources for you coming up on this one. One of them is MTI. It's a client of mine is helping people get their head around cryptocurrency and build automated income with that. And so you can go and have a look at his webinar. And if that's interesting, you can sign up to learn more about that. But when you're doing these investments, when you're doing these side hustles, it's important not to get distracted from your core business. This is really just about boosting where you're at right now, while we go through these trialing times, right? So you've got to harmonize it all together. And that's why it's good to have a mentor that's on top of all of this, to know how to juggle it all, to help you with your priorities, give you the new avenues, as well as give you some kind of accountability as well. So I just want to check in here and be honest with yourself. Are you excited, or are you feeling overwhelmed? Like, are you feeling like, help, there's too much, right? Because that's where we're at. We're at exponential, parabolic change. And it is difficult to keep up, which is the single most reason I belong to a number of masterminds. So I've got all these people who are doing all the research, and I'm doing research, and we're all sharing it together, so no one person has got the burden of having to figure all of this out for themselves. But that leads me to my next thing, is like, how are you going to overcome that overwhelm? And you might even be getting ascension systems like dizziness because the pace of the change, scattered energy, feeling lost, or intensely having transformational moments. So that really brings us to this core idea of digging deep into your omnipotent presence. And I'm going to slow down in just a minute to just give you some technique that you can use to help you with this. I really believe this is the call of our time. You can't be human anymore, and you can't come from human limitation. You've got to get to the truth of who you are, because we are awakening, and everything that's going on in the world is awakening us to the fact that we are creating our own reality. We are a creative, powerful, omnipotent being, and at some level we've created the game this way to put a fire under our butt, to step into the presence within us that is the one that's determining our experiences. Because it's not the mind that's creating your reality, it's your being. And this is a huge switch that you need to be making, because a lot of people doing visualizations and they're not working. And it's like, yes, because you haven't got your being engaged, and the being is the one that's determining everything, right? We can't coast along living without deliberate creation anymore. You're going to have to become deliberate in your creation like never before, right? Like never before. So this is the time where you have to up your game on manifesting from this omnipotent being, because that's where the power is, the attraction, the energy to be able to, see you through. Also, the reward for doing that is flow. It's like when you're creating and manifesting from your flow, which is your being, everything that I've just said is null and void. Like everything that I've just said gets cancelled out because you're being navigated to where everything continues to flow. And this is what I'm literally only just making this shift quite recently. And all of a sudden, the losses that I've had, I'm fast-paced, able to make up for them. So there is a reward for doing this work, totally. So right now what I want you to do is tune into your vibration, because in order for you to be in flow and to be in the prosperity vibration, according to some experts in this field of measuring frequencies, you need to be at like 53,000. The average human being's at 25,000, which is why the average human being struggles financially. So we need to be doing something every day to raise the prosperity vibration up to this level. And this exercise is the beginning of doing that. So I want you to take note of where your vibration is at right now. Just touch yourself, feel how dense you are, feel how light you are, wherever it is you're at. Maybe your head's a bit heavy because you've just had a big download. And now I want you to invite you to do this exercise with me, where we're going to state I am a creative omnipotent being from love. But as we do it, we're going to raise our arms up above our heads to the point where your hands touch, then bring them down in a prayer position and put them over your chest, your thymus area in the middle of your chest there, just above your breast for women, and tune in to the truth of that statement. So here we go. Let's do it together. Arms down by your side. We're lifting them up. I am a creative, omnipotent being. Drop your hands from love, crossing your hands over them on the middle of the chest, and just be still and check in with that being of love that's inside of you. Feel that vibration. And now say, I am not my body. I am not my body. I am a creative, omnipotent being. Now feel your vibration. Right, you've just raised it towards the 53. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff you need to get rid of before it gets up to 53 in the collective consciousness matrix, which I'll tell you in a minute. But you've just raised your vibration. Can you feel that? Just by saying that. Right, this is the very beginning process of my shifting to operating from omnipotence workshop I'm doing on, I'm offering. So I'll talk to you a little bit more about that. But this is just that alone. If you did that every morning, every time you felt, you had a panic moment, right? You remind yourself of this. You just do that alone and you will feel that vibration. And that vibration is going to change your mind. It's going to dramatically bring you into the vibrations that will bring you into flow and manifestation in a more powerful way. So I really highly recommend you use it daily. So that's just one of the key operating principles that you need to immediately adopt, like checking in with your omnipotent being, right? So you can continue your work, your important work as a practitioner, a healer, a coach, a consultant, or a speaker. Remember, there is a big flush going on in our industry, so we need to be at the top of our game, and presenting your uniqueness by getting in touch with that omnipotent being is just one way that you can do that, right? So operating from omnipotence, using old earth systems will no longer bring prosperity. Oil is case in point. Manifesting from omnipotence, we've talked about that. So you might need also, I think we all need to rewire our brain for the new world, right? Because you know in your heart of hearts what the new earth is and all of the feelings and the emotions, but the brain patterns and the thinking patterns are still in the old systems until you shift those brain patterns. So that's one thing that we need to shift. Excuse me. Also, and this is important, we need to remove collective consciousness matrix of lies. when you think about your conscious mind, that's the mind you know. Your subconscious is just below your conscious. Then you have your unconscious, the things that go on in that part of your mind that you've got no awareness of. Then you've got the collective consciousness, right, which we're all privy to. And then below that, we've got the superconsciousness. Now, between the subconscious and the superconsciousness is the collective consciousness. And when I've worked with people in my Quantum Game Changer Blocks Clearing program, I've literally seen matrices of beliefs that people have been attached to that's preventing them from getting out of debt, preventing them from making an abundance of money, preventing them from actually really cogniting to play a big game or to get their purpose out into the world. It keeps them stuck, and that's all in the collective consciousness. So, and they're lies, like they're not truths, they're all lies, and we need to remove them from you. So here's a test to see how many of these collective consciousness matrices you're actually attached to that could be operating from you. So I'm going to read them out, and if you feel a body twinge or you relate to something, I want you to write on your piece of paper which, a tally mark or which one it is. Like, we're going to do number one. Number one is, I have to earn the right to be on the planet. I want you to check in. If you're attached to that, I have to earn the right to be on the planet, these are going to resonate with you. I have to work hard. Working hard is noble. If you work hard for it, it's worth it, right? If it comes easy, it's not valuable. It's better to work hard for money than be handed it on a silver platter. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy of being rewarded. So all those kind of thoughts, and believe you me, there's hundreds more, make up a belief matrix in the collective consciousness that's a complete lie, and it's all attached to this concept of you having to earn the right to be on the planet. And I believe because of what's going on with currency, where we're at in the world economy, robots and what have you, this is the single most lie matrix we need to remove, because we may be going into a dramatic different world where you can't earn a living, right? There'll be other ways in which resources are organized, and the people that are organizing themselves with those resources will be the people that prosper. So this is a lie matrix. How many of those did you relate to? Just write that down. The second one is it's evil to have more money than I need. So if you're attached to that collective conscious lie matrix, you're going to have, I can't handle abundance. I need things to be simple. I don't want a lot of money. I can't handle my finances. I don't want to have to deal with money. Rich people are evil. Rich people do bad things to get money. I only need enough to get by. I mean, how many of those did you resonate with or you can relate to, right? Write that down. The third collective conscious lie matrix you need to detach from is change is overwhelming. If you ever get overwhelmed, you will be attached to this lie matrix. I'm overwhelmed. Change is overwhelming. I just want things to stay as they are. I feel unsafe when things change. Change is bad. Change is threatening. I feel threatened when things change, right? So how many of those are you attached to? Number 4, I'm only going to go through 7. There's lots of them, but we've only got time for 7 today. God abandoned me. I've been abandoned. I am always being abandoned. And a lot of you will have this even if you don't believe in God, or you're not of the vernacular where you use God as the supreme being. A lot of you will have this because we're talking collective conscious matrices. We're not talking your consciousness and your belief system, right? And way back, in all of our histories, there has been religious programming. So you could have this going on. I'm always being abandoned. I feel all alone in the world. I am alone in this world. I'm not on my own. No one is going to help me. No one supports me. I have to do everything on my own. I have to do things for myself, right? That's a lie matrix of God abandoned me. How many of those are you attached to? The next one, something is out to get me. I feel attacked. People are out to get me. People are difficult. This is a lie matrix, I think, that's holding all practitioners and healers back at the moment. This is the witch hunt. This is the witch hunt matrix, the collective consciousness matrix that actually created the witch hunt, right? And it's active in practitioners as we speak. People are not honourable. People will do you in. People will harm you. It's better to be on my own than with people. It's not safe to go out. Definitely happening right now, isn't it, as we speak with COVID. So it's going to be difficult for you in this day and age with this collective consciousness matrix to attract clients if you've got this going on. You've gotten away with it up till now, but we're not going to get away with it now, not with things happening the way they are. So how many of those are you attached to? How many of those resonated with you, or you got a buzz on, or you felt a bit of emotional over? And number 6, we've got 7 that I'm going to go over. Relationships take work. You have to work at relationships. Relationships never last. Relationships are difficult. This can affect the clients that you attract. I'm not safe in a relationship. I lose the ones I love, right? This is clients leaving you, or clients not paying for your work. Relationships are too much work. I can't be bothered with men. I can't be bothered with women. I can't be bothered with relationships. I'm better off on my own. People are difficult. We want you out of that matrix. We don't want you in that collective consciousness matrix, so you can get the clients that you really love and enjoy to work with. I must stick with the crowd. This is another one that really you need to break free of. I have to stay in my class. That's going to keep you in a financial rut. I'm not allowed to progress. Again, I'm not allowed to get rich. I'm not allowed to be successful. I'm not allowed to earn more than my mother. I'm not allowed to earn more than my father. And how many of these are you resonating with? How many of these that you're like, oh, I can relate to that? If I become more visible, I'll get cut down. If people see the real me, I'll be crucified or killed or harmed or imprisoned. I can't earn a lot of money. It's dangerous to stick my neck out. It's dangerous to speak up, right? That's all part of a lie matrix that we need to root out of you, so that you aren't in the collateral damage of the collective consciousness, 60% being affected by unemployment rates and lower living and yada, 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 right? So how many of those got triggered in you? How many sections? Like all 7? Most people, there's all 7. Most practitioners that I work with, all 7, even ones who have done a tremendous amount of work on themselves. So this isn't even the tip of the iceberg, right? We have to start removing these matrices so that we are not in the collateral damage of what's going on in the world. And by the way, just as a side note, this is the way that, like, when you pull your plug out from these matrices and the collective, you change the collective, which means you can affect the outcomes of millions of people without actually having a following of millions. So it's really cool. That's what I call quantum game changer. That's when you're changing the game on the planet at a quantum level. So we're going through a quickening. We're speeding up this transition, right? We have to, because too many people will get hurt if we just drag it out for much longer. So the other principle we need to live by is that, excuse me, you're in an awakening ascension. So the challenges you're having aren't about helping you get stronger. They're about coming into your omnipotence so that you get who's creating your reality and who's creating your world. So you want to look at your limiting experiences that you have, or your patterns, as having a lower and a higher purpose. It's the higher purpose you want to look to that's going to transmute the lower purpose, so that you can then make that ascension. And to give you an example of that, a lower purpose would be, this is going to make me stronger. The higher purpose is, this is going to force me to meet my maker, meet my creator, meet my ability to create new worlds. So every time you make that ascension, like you focus on the higher purpose of limitation and patterns, you will ascend up your vibration. And when you get it to that level that we spoke about, higher and higher, you get into the vicinity of your omnipotent being, and then you can really be in that zone where you start to create and manifest instantaneously. The other principle to live by during these times is that everything exists to wake you up to the truth of your omnipotent creative self, not to challenge you or to make you strong. It is forcing you to absolutely systematically look at the karmas that are coming up that you've got to get rid of so that you can get to your omnipotent creative self, right? And once you do that, this is where resistance starts to go, you let go of you let go of polarities of good and evil, black and white. You come into unity, and you can really come into that flow and that creative manifestation instantaneous zone. The other principle to live by is really understanding that there is a vehicle for you to work in right now, like it's a provision for you in your mission blueprint. You may need to rewire your brain to even be able to conceive of what it's going to look like, right? And there may be a transition period. Most people I work with, there is a transition period to get to the new, because a lot of people are monetizing in the old industrial model, and I think some of it will still work for a small amount of time, but it won't be your core business. You've got to move your core business to the new world. So that's called pivoting your purpose. So I want you to think about this as we're moving into that brave new world, right? Your mind might not be able to conceive of all of the new pathways, but we can start by starting to think about this. How can I offer painkillers, not vitamins? Vitamins are things that people take when they've got disposable income, and it's important to them, but it's a luxury, right? Painkillers are things that people have to spend money on. They have to invest their money, otherwise they can't move forward. So this is kind of like painkillers are getting a renaissance in marketing at the moment, right? You need to pivot your message too. So once you've figured that out, you pivot your message. You need to pivot your niche. We've talked about expanding your niche to have a wider reach, and you need to pivot your price. All of that's going to come together to re-establish your new model and your new way of moving forward. Remember, you do have a vehicle for your ultimate awakening during this time that is also going to be able to support you and back you up financially. You just need to be getting on with what you need to do to get to that new earth vehicle. The sixth principle, we've got 7, this is the second to last one, is that we have to be looking at our business as an apprenticeship to becoming omnipotent. Our business is not just about making money, and it's not just about serving people. You're going to get dished up challenges, and those challenges have the higher purpose, remember, of becoming omnipotent and then manifesting from omnipotence. So every single time you have a pattern, a challenge, you come into that omnipotent being. You can start that fundamental truth technique that I taught you, and you manifest from there, and you practice and you practice and you practice until you're able to just instantaneously do that and operate from there. And that's kind of like the reorientation of your focus for your business. Does that make sense? Any questions, guys? I know I'm going through this really fast. I told you this was an information load down. I am going to go over some of these in videos on YouTube, so I hope that you subscribe to my YouTube channel, because that's where I'll be posting them as we go forward. I just want to give you all of this. You can screenshot this, take notes, and we'll go over it systemically as we go through. And those of you who are going to choose to work with me in this massive transformational time, we dive much, much deeper into the actual practicalities of how on this one. So where are we? Number 7, last one. You then have to integrate your omnipotence in your practicality of your business. How do you operate from omnipotence with building your income? How do you operate it in your relationship with your clients, with your challenges, everything that happens? Right? How does that happen? We need to be looking at this integration of our big being, and the reason for that, I believe, is once we go through this apprenticeship this year, we come out into this new world. I think we're going to be co-creating together a brave new world. Right? We're the ones that are creating it right now, but we're going through this rite of passage this year with all of the challenges, practicing, operating from omnipotence in all of these areas. So how do we make the switch then? How are we making the switch over to the new earth way, the omnipotent way of building the business, so that you can thrive in this new emerging economy and not crash with the one that's dying? Well, the first thing you need to do, obviously, you come to this webinar, so that's great. So you're researching, you're researchers, you want to learn, you want to know what's going on. But there are other leaders in this area. I'm going to give you some resources on who else you can follow that are talking about the new. Follow people who are in touch with what's going on, because you don't have time to do all this research, right? So you want to research the people who are researching it so that you can learn from them, as well as, doing a little bit of your own research, but not being completely overwhelmed by doing the whole thing on your own. That makes no sense. Learn the omnipotent operating system and operate from it. That's definitely the switch I believe the whole of humanity needs to move to anyway. And then when you get feedback, just adjust. And you just keep adjusting and adjusting until you finally break through. So what you practically do then, like what are the practicalities of building the business so it thrives, right? Well, I think the first thing is, we've talked about manifesting from your being, not doing, is you've got to pivot your business model. You have to have a look and see if what you're offering is still relevant to the market. And if it's not, how can you make it more relevant? Not just in terms of what you're offering, but also the price point, how you're operating it. I mean, workshops, you might not be able to do live workshops or retreats for a while, right? You may have to pivot online. I've had clients that have had retreats booked, and instead of cancelling them, they went online, they did them on Zoom, they kept the money and made some money on the upsell, and they were doing really well because they pivoted. They pivoted their delivery. You might need to do that. And then also look at the robot industry. I believe, just like app platforms like AppyPie, where you don't need to be a developer, develop an app. You just go onto it like WordPress. You can make a website with WordPress without being a developer. Then you can make a phone app on AppyPie without being a developer. I believe there will be platforms that you can make robotic training programs and coaching programs and healing programs, and you can just upload it. I got goosebumps all up my arms when I said that. So you need to be looking at what you're doing on a one-on-one basis, systematizing it, breaking it down into what it is that you're doing, so you can put it in a course that can become an app, that can become a robotic training program, and move in that direction. Right? You've got to be moving away from one-on-one anyway, because that's not going to be sustainable as an income, right, for much longer. Unless you hit the jackpot niche of people that, you just hit the jackpot. And there are a few people I know of that are hitting the jackpot, but they aren't wanting one-on-one so much. They're wanting the group, they're wanting the community, they're wanting technology. So we are moving to this pet rock kind of economy. Business and finance are being disrupted, remember. So you want to be asking, what can you do to start going digital? Learning about that. Follow Crypto Casey. This is a great resource for you. Take Enrico's webinar, giving you that resource in the chat box there. I'll follow up with an email. Get set up in crypto, and just play with it, because very soon it will be the norm, and you might as well get in touch with it now, especially if you want to be able to take crypto to charge for your services, because that is a way of actually getting rich really fast when you understand Bitcoin and other Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies. So bottom line, knowledge is power, so get educated. Your network is your net worth, so get networked. Join groups, join masterminds, get in the know with people in the know, and get mentored. You put all of these pieces together, and I think you're going to be focused on the right things moving forward, and you cannot help but stumble into what it is that's going to get you forward. So I really feel that there's nothing better or more imperative than doing this transformation work of looking for the new industries, getting our brains wired to be able to even conceive of the new, and doing the work to become our omnipotent presence. Nothing from the old world is going to work as well anymore, and eventually it won't work at all because we are being called into the new earth way of being, and astrologically these are the dates that are going to precipitate shifts into omnipotence. So given that the first one's coming up on the 10th of May, that is imminent, that is like, oh my goodness, that is just around the corner, right on our doorstep, timing is everything. I've decided that I'm going to put together a program over the next 5 weeks, plus we'll do 3 months of follow-up as well to help you get through these dates and unplug from the matrix and go through these 7 fundamentals of learning the fundamental truths of your existence, removing the collective consciousness lies, coming into your own awakening ascension so you get to that vibration of prosperity, going into your, like pivoting what your ultimate awakening to omnipotence vehicle is, and then that's changing your business model, probably moving forward in that vehicle as your apprenticeship to becoming operating from omnipotence. So that's practicing in marketing from omnipotence, building your income from omnipotence, investing from omnipotence, really integrating the spiritual attractor factor like never before, to come from a completely different way. And this is going to be delivered in a series of 5 weeks. 5 weeks. So there's going to be 3 private sessions, collective transformation groups, a 2-day workshop, because we need to do the intensive work on removing collective consciousness lie matrix. But I'm going to do it really quick, so we can be ready for. Here they are, these dates here. Right, there's a couple of months ahead of us that are going to be really interesting. So how it works is we will do. Get you into a meditative journey so that you can practice your omnipotence and your omnipotent manifesting techniques. We're going to get you into, we're going to remove all of these consciousness matrix that you're attached to so that you can reveal more powerfully your attractor factor and raise that vibration up to prosperity. I know I'm repeating myself a little bit here, but I just want to make sure I haven't missed anything out. We're going to be looking at the higher purposes and removing karma, if you might be attached to that, that's preventing the omnipotent being from truly coming forward and building your abundance. And we're going to be looking at your life challenges personally. You'll be doing that with me personally on a one-on-one basis. And then we're going to be working at what's the higher purpose and the higher vibration that it's teaching you to get to, so that you can start coming into that manifestation from manifesting, it's gone in one ear and out the other. Instantaneous manifestation. I've spoken about going through karmas. I've spoken about rewiring your brain. That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be looking at your new monetization model, getting you out there in your vehicle, and applying the fundamentals in all aspects of your business. So you're no longer operating from a limited human being system, you're operating from the omnipotent being system. So how this is going to go, you'll get 3 private sessions with me. One of them, we're going to focus on the collective consciousness matrix and high purposes, so I know what I'm going to be leading you through this 5 weeks. We're going to be doing a massive clearing session privately, just you and me, on clearing any abundance blocks and facilitating abundance. And we're also, the 3rd session will be determined based on where you're at the end of the 2-day workshop. So if there's anything we've missed or anything we need to follow up on or anything that's come up, we're preserving that topic for there. Then we're going to do 4 group clearing sessions once a month to systemically go through, not once a month, sorry, once a week. This is an intensity in May during those really highly pivotal transformational times. We're going to go through all of those matrices and get you out of them and build new matrices of belief. And then we're going to do 6 group business income sessions. So that we're doing the spiritual, but we also have to do the practical. We need to do the research. We need to pivot you. We need to remessage you, possibly even rebrand you. All of those business practical, let's get money in now, money now. That's going to be done twice a month for 3 months over this period. So we get you flying. That's super, super important. So we're going to be working together every week, basically, intensely. First of all, for 5 weeks, then we'll have the 2-day intensive, and then we'll continue with a couple of months of doing the business building, so we don't leave anything out and we get everything covered. The 2-day intensive workshop has to happen this way. We can't stretch this out over the weeks because this falls right around the intensity of what I believe is going to be massive fallout, and you need to be ready for your clients and customers to serve in a really big way. And we also want to go down into your monetization strategies, how you're going to emerge out of all of that, and doing more about coming into your omnipotent presence and into that manifestation zone. And then we're going to be doing some peering processes to improve your transformation skills and your ability to lead transformation and your ability to bring people into transformation in ways that you've never done before, so that you're upping your game at that level as well. So the overview on the pricing on all of that, these are just legitimate prices. My prices have come down because of this recession. I kind of feel like, that needs to happen. So these are all legitimate. They're not overinflated. You've got your 3 sessions with me, which is $1,350 if you were to pay for that separately. 4 sessions in the group, which is $1,100. You've got the 6 group business building sessions, which is $1,100 approximately. There are going to be 2 time frames to choose from. There's one on Wednesday, one on Thursday, based on your time zone. So we'll make sure we've got the Europeans happening at a time where it's not too late for them, and the Aussies and the New Zealanders where it's not too early for them. So, and then we've got the 2-day workshop, and all in all, when you add that up, that comes to $4,900, or just a little bit over. And again, these are honest prices. This is the download that I got in terms of what is needed to shift. And I'm not going to offer something that won't shift. I'm only going to offer something that gives a really big shift, and we're going to see tangible results, right? So we want to be monitoring those results on a week-on-week basis in a very intense way. So the price that I'm discounting it to, because that obviously is a price that is a little bit out of reach for too many people, is $2,376. So that's more than 50% discount. And this is a model of what I'm going to be teaching some of you. If you want to do this, but you need to manage cash flow, I'm allowing 12 installments of $198, which means that should be relatively easy for business owners and practitioners like yourself to be able to afford. If you like saving money and you've got reserves, then you can just do 7 payments and you'll save $279. And if you've got more reserves, or you're able to do a full payment, you can save $500 at $877. And you'll notice that these numbers are very different from what's out there, like 9995 and all that kind of thing, because there's a numerology behind it. 1 is new beginnings, 8 is stability and infinity, like being able to continue, not being made redundant. 7 is the magic number of increase, and we've got 2 set magic numbers of increase. So those are the options. The link is quantumgamechanger.com/more. I'm going to put that in there for you to have a look at all of the different elements that we're offering, so you can actually see it and read it and choose what's going to be the best way for you to get on board in this really pivotal moment. So there are all of the prices today. We are starting now. I'm already started doing the first private sessions for the people that are already in this program. So you're going to need to take advantage of these programs. You're going to have to make a decision today. And if you want to know if this is for you, this is for people who are tired of plodding along in life and you want to quantum leap your progress at a time when it looks like you might not be able to do that, right? It's also for you if you want to be a powerful change agent and transformation facilitator. You might want to transition out of one-on-one or do one-on-one. It doesn't matter. We're going to find new ways of offering that, workshops in new ways as well. Whatever that is, if those are the things you've been thinking about, this is most definitely for you, because we need to find a way for you to do that in the new world. It's also for you if you're over working on yourself, right, and you just want to just get some massive amount of blocks clearing done and operate at the highest level of your being, so you're not constantly always having to work on yourself. It's also for you if you like the idea of being with a powerful team of transformers. We're going to be helping each other out through these really difficult times this year, for the first 3 months at least anyway. And bringing each other into freedom and flow on a week-on-week basis, so that we're not out there on our own, floundering, trying to figure it out and getting caught in the draft, getting caught behind the 8 ball. So remember, from my emails I've been sending out, 95% of what happens in your day is being created from your being, not your mind, right? So how many hours a day do you spend connecting with your being, and how much money and resources and time are you putting into learning how to work with this being and how to manifest from this being? Because now's the time that you need to put the investment in for that, because this is your way forward. This is what's going to see you through these tough times. Nothing shifts until you shift into that being. And this is the calling of our time as practitioners. We're leading humanity through massive amounts of change, so we need to come out of the humanness and into that omnipotence that we truly are. So really, this is the opportunity for a complete shift in the way you operate, so you don't get caught up in the collective consciousness collateral damage of 2020. You're going to need to transition into the new earth ways anyway, so it might as well be now, right? So there are a few bonuses I'll just go through, then I'm going to open up for Q&A and spotlight your mission readings. So stick with me here, because this gets really exciting. Bonus number 1 is my 4-hour transformational workshop, Operating from Omnipotence. It is the beginning of learning the fundamentals of connecting with your omnipotent being. You can come to the live one on Friday, or you can do the recording if you are not available at the time that we're doing the live one. Also, a group clearing session. We'll get together at a time designated on all the people that are coming that works well. We might even have to do 2 sessions. This is going to start on the collective consciousness lie around having to work hard for money. And then bonus 3 is to turbocharge your clearing. I have over 15 clearing sessions on money, on business, purpose, visibility, clearing energies, entities, negative energies around you, clearing on your self-esteem and your abundance and more, that you're going to be able to go through over this time. It'll probably take you, like if you do it all at once, it's probably going to take you about, 18 weeks, but realistically probably a year of clearing to go through there, so that you can really just move through stuff a lot faster and just come into that vibratory 53,000 hertz range of prosperity. Bonus 4 is awesome. I'm going to do a special 2-hour cryptocurrency course, which is learning how to build Bitcoin and Ethereum, how to sell your services, how to take cryptocurrency, how to get set up with cryptocurrency wallets, what's it all about. And also, there's a couple of systems out there. There's actually 3 ways that you can automate your income in crypto that are totally legitimate. They're so legitimate that you're going to have to pay tax on your earnings because it's regulated. And within 8 months, there's possibilities of earning an automated income of around $5,000 or just under $5,000. So I'm going to show you all the ways that you can do that. And that's really exciting. I'm so excited about that bonus number 4. So the total amount of bonuses comes to 991. The value of the program is 4,900. So that's bringing us up to a total value of 9848. And again, I'm really honest with my prices, because I feel that karmically, if you inflate your prices and then you reduce what you're offering, you kind of really negate things. So it's still super value at honest prices. I don't even need to inflate them. And then these are your options. Just start with 198 if you need to manage cash flow. If you like saving money, you can pick the other 2 options. And if you have availability to do that, then that's obviously the best way to go. But I want you doing this rather than using money as an excuse not to do it, because this is going to massively bring you out of a lot of struggle and manifesting in ways that you've never known before. And this is the most critical thing that you need to be focusing on this year, again, so that this is not a tough year for you. And I believe it's now, because time's run out. Like, time has just run out. It's like, oil just went negative. I mean, really get your head around that. That is going to see massive ripples through the economy. And that's just one of many things this year that's happening. So you can't play around and you can't not invest in yourself anymore, right? You just have to keep investing. I am like crazy at the moment. Everyone doing well right now, right, has been consistently investing in education and transformation because they knew this time was coming. So if you're not strategically investing in yourself, you're competing with people who are. And that's the crux of it, right? So if you're resonating with this, if this is exciting to you, if you want to work with a team of powerful transformers and pivot your business, pivot your operating system, come into this new exciting world and emerge as a leader in this world for your clients and customers, then these are your options to get started. The link is there. And before I open up for questions, there's just a couple of quotes I want to give you. Buckminster Fuller, who was an early mentor of mine, says, "We are blessed with technology that would be indescribable to our forefathers. We have the wherewithal, the know-it-all to feed everybody, clothe everybody, and give every human on earth a chance. We now know what we would never have known before, that we now have the option for all humanity to make it successfully on this planet in this lifetime. Whether it is to be utopia or oblivion, it will be a touch and go relay race right up to the final moment. Humanity is in final exam as to whether or not it qualifies for continuance in universe. Are we going to be smart, or are our robots going to take us over and climate change or whatever or environmental disasters that are happening? What's going to win the day? We're in our final exam, and you and I, we're the ones who've been asked from on high to make sure humanity qualifies for continuance by first waking up to our own omnipotence, then leading others to theirs. So we have the capacity to create a brave new world that works for 100% humanity. Will you join me? I hope you say yes. So I'm going to come out from behind the PowerPoint and come onto webcam now for those Spotlight Your Mission readings and for question and answers.